The morning sky over Kelthora turned red as the alien ships came down from space. They looked like giant metal insects, thousands of them blocking out the sun. Elder Moran stood at the window of the council building, watching her peaceful world begin to burn. She had lived for 400 years and seen many terrible things. But nothing like this. "How long do we have?" she asked Commander Zeth without turning around. 6 hours. Maybe 8 if we're lucky. His voice was quiet. He knew they were going to lose. Kelthora had always been a peaceful planet. A place where different alien species came to trade and make friends. They had no real army. No big weapons. They thought being neutral would keep them safe. The Vraxians didn't care about peace. Outside, the first bombs hit the northern cities. Moran watched as towers of fire rose into the sky, destroying buildings that had stood for thousands of years. Her people were dying and she could do nothing to stop it. "Did you send the distress signals?" she asked. "Yes. To every member of the Galactic Council," Zeth said. "No one has answered yet." Moran's 2 hearts felt heavy. She understood what the silence meant. The other alien species were probably having meetings, talking and debating. They were scared of the Vraxians. Everyone was scared of them. The insect warriors had destroyed 14 planets in just 1 year. Their numbers were too great. Their methods too brutal. And apparently no one thought Kelthora was important enough to save. "Get everyone into the underground shelters," Moran ordered. "Everyone. Right now." Zeth started giving orders through his radio while Moran looked back at the burning sky. She could see Vraxian soldiers landing in the distance. They were huge insects with sharp claws and weapons that could cut through metal like paper. They worked together like ants in a colony, their minds all connected. 3 weeks, she thought. If help doesn't come in 3 weeks, everyone here will die. The days in the underground shelters all felt the same. Dark, quiet, hopeless. Moran walked among her people, trying to comfort them even though she felt no hope herself. The food was running out. The children stopped smiling. The old people began accepting that death was coming. Above them, on the surface, the Vraxians were destroying everything. They cut down the forest. They turned the oceans into steam. They were eating the planet itself, piece by piece. On the 18th day, messages finally came from the Galactic Council. Moran read them with shaking hands. "We feel sorry for your situation. We are forming a committee to discuss what to do." She wanted to scream. Committees, discussions, meetings, while her world died around them. She sat in the command room, staring at screens that showed the Vraxian armies getting closer. Zeth sat next to her with his head in his hands. "We're alone," he whispered. Moran had no words to make him feel better. It was true. The galaxy had grown comfortable in peacetime. When real evil came, everyone just looked away and pretended not to see. Then the young communications officer jumped in his seat. "Elder Moran, I'm getting a message. It's strange." "Play it." Static filled the room. Then a voice came through, clear and strong. "Kelthora, this is the United Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. Hold on. We're coming." Moran blinked in confusion. "Earth? The humans?" Zeth pulled up information on the small blue planet that had joined the galactic community only 50 years ago. The humans were considered interesting but nothing special. They had decent technology and a weird love for something called coffee. They also seemed to really like small furry animals. "They're 3 sectors away," Zeth said slowly. "Even at their fastest speed, it would take them 12 days to get here." "They say they're already on the way," the communications officer said. Moran felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. It was small and fragile and dangerous to believe in. But it was there. Hope. Admiral Kim Hanna stood on the bridge of her ship, the U.S. Dauntless, watching the stars stretch into long white lines as they traveled faster than light. Her fleet of 37 ships pushed their engines harder than they should, racing toward a planet most humans had never heard of. "Admiral, the engines are having problems," her officer said. "Reactors 4 through 7 are overheating." "Tell them to keep pushing," Hanna said calmly. "We didn't come this far to be late." Behind her, Captain Lee Tay looked at the computer displays. His soldiers were already training, getting ready to fight an enemy they had only read about. The Vraxian swarm. Giant insects, connected by one shared mind. Completely ruthless. "Can I ask you something, Admiral?" Tay said. "Go ahead. Why are we doing this? Kelthora means nothing to Earth. We have no deal with them. The Galactic Council didn't even ask us to help." Hanna turned to look at him. "Do you know what my grandmother told me before she died?" Tay shook his head. "She lived through the Soul Famine of 2089. She watched thousands of people starve while the big countries argued about money and trade. When help finally came, it came from unexpected places. Small countries, poor communities, people who had almost nothing gave everything they had. She walked to the window and looked out at the rushing stars. My grandmother said the world changed that day. She said humanity learned that the size of your bank account doesn't matter when someone is drowning. What matters is whether you reach out your hand. Hannah's eyes were hard with determination. Kelthra is drowning, Captain. So we reach out our hand. Tay was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. Yes, Admiral. In the ship's medical area, Dr. Park Yuki was preparing information about their enemy. She was the fleet's expert on alien biology. For the past week, she had studied everything about the Vraxians. The briefing room filled with officers. Hannah sat at the head of the table. Doctor, what are we facing? The Admiral asked. Yuki turned on a holographic display. A huge insect warrior appeared above the table, its jaws opening and closing. The Vraxians come from a planet with very high gravity and extreme competition for food. They're stronger than humans, faster in short bursts, and they can coordinate through chemical signals. She turned the image. They have hard armor that resists energy weapons. They also have backup organs which makes them very hard to kill. This doesn't sound good, Doctor, someone said. Yuki smiled a little. I'm not finished. The Vraxians have one big weakness. They've never fought an enemy that thinks independently. Every species they've conquered either ran away or fought using normal military tactics. And humans? Hannah asked. We're chaos to them, Admiral. We don't follow the rules. We improvise. We adapt. We use weapons and tactics that no sane military leader would approve. Yuki's smile grew bigger. We're going to confuse them badly. The room filled with dark laughter. On Kelthra things were getting worse. The Vraxians had found the underground shelters and started digging them out. Moran sent out what remained of her defense forces to fight, buying time measured in hours, not days. Commander Zeth came back from a battle. His armor was burned and dented. They're learning our tactics, he said. How long? Moran asked. 48 hours. Maybe less. Moran checked the time. The human fleet should arrive in 36 hours. Would they make it in time? She thought about the message that had kept them alive through the darkest nights. We're coming. Such simple words. But they meant more than all the Galactic Council's sympathy and meetings ever could. Across the galaxy, other species watched. The Galactic Council observed with interest and worry. If the humans failed, it would prove that helping was impossible. If they succeeded, it would raise uncomfortable questions about why no one else had tried. Some species quietly began moving their ships closer. Not to help, they told themselves. Just to watch. To see what these strange humans would do. The Vraxian commander Vraxthor watched the human ships approaching and felt something like amusement. 37 ships against his massive fleet. These soft creatures from the small blue planet clearly didn't understand numbers. Ignore them, Vraxthor sent through the hive mind to all his warriors. Continue taking the planet apart. The small fleet will run away once they see our power. The humans did not run away. Instead they went faster. All ships, prepare for Thunder Protocol, Admiral Hannah commanded. Execute on my mark. Thunder Protocol wasn't in any military book. Human tacticians had created it for situations where normal fighting would guarantee failure. The basic idea was simple. Do the impossible so fast the enemy can't react. They're still not changing their formation, the tactical officer said. They think we're going to fight at normal distance. Of course they do, Hannah replied. Because that's what a sane commander would do. Mark. Execute now. The human fleet didn't slow down. Instead, they dove straight into the Vraxian formation at almost maximum speed, their shields screaming as they took fire from confused enemy ships. Weapons blazed everywhere. Missiles streaked through space. Then, at the moment when collision seemed certain, all 37 human ships performed a synchronized combat move that should have torn them apart. They didn't tear apart. Drop pods shot out from every ship like metallic rain, thousands of them, falling toward Kelthra's surface while the mother ships pulled impossibly tight turns and began precise orbital attacks. Vraxthor watched in shock as exact strikes destroyed Vraxian positions on the ground. The targeting was surgical, impossibly accurate, missing civilian shelters by only a few meters. How? The commander began. Then the drop pods hit the ground like thunder. Captain Lee Tay's pod screamed through Kelthra's atmosphere, flames licking the outside as friction created intense heat. Inside, Tay and his 49 Marines held on against the crushing force. 30 seconds, someone shouted. Tay checked his weapon one last time. The magnetic rifle was loaded with special rounds designed to pierce Vraxian armor. His display showed hundreds of other pods landing in a coordinated pattern around the main civilian shelter. "Remember the plan," Tay shouted over the noise. "Small fire teams. Hit and move. Don't stay still." The pod slammed into the ground with bone-crushing force. The front panel blew off, and Tay's squad poured out into a nightmare. Vraxian warriors were everywhere. The insects were massive, easily twice the size of a human, with blade-like arms that could cut through steel. One charged directly at Tay. He sidestepped, letting its speed carry it past him, and put 3 rounds through the joint where its head met its body. The creature collapsed. "Fire teams, spread out," Tay ordered. "Don't let them surround you." His marines moved like water, flowing around obstacles, using the ruins of Kelthra's cities as cover. When the Vraxians tried to coordinate their attacks through chemical signals, they found their opponents had already moved. This wasn't the kind of war the swarm understood. They were used to overwhelming numbers meeting static defenses. But humans fought like ghosts, appearing from unexpected angles, hitting vital points, then disappearing before the counterattack could come. Tay's team reached the entrance to the civilian shelter. Vraxian warriors had been trying to dig it out for days. Now they turned to face this new threat. "Suppressing fire," Tay ordered. Magnetic rifles cracked in continuous rhythm. The Vraxians' armor was tough, but focused fire at weak points brought them down. More importantly, the volume of fire drove the insects backward, creating a safe zone. "This is Captain Lee. Shelter entrance secured. Requesting evacuation support." "Acknowledged, Captain," came Admiral Hannah's voice. "Dropships coming. 4 minutes. 4 minutes." Tay's team had to hold for 4 minutes while an entire army of Vraxians realized what was happening. Inside the shelter, Elder Moran heard the sounds of battle above. Commander Zeth listened to the radio, his expression changing from disbelief to hope. "They're here," he whispered. "The humans actually came." Moran moved to the shelter's exit. Through the reinforced barriers, she could hear the distinctive crack of human weapons. A young Kelthran child pulled at her robes. "Elder Moran? Is it safe?" Moran looked down at the child. At her people huddled in darkness, kept alive for weeks by a promise from strangers. "Yes," she said firmly. "It's safe. The humans came." The evacuation continued for 6 hours. 23,000 Kelthran civilians were lifted to safety while human marines held back desperate Vraxian attacks. Captain Lee Tay directed the defense from the shelter entrance, moving fire teams with perfect timing. Then the ground shook. Not from bombs. This was something deeper. Something wrong. "Admiral," Dr. Park Yuki's voice crackled through the emergency channel. "We've detected a massive energy signature from Kelthra's core. I think the Vraxians activated a doomsday weapon." On the Dauntless, Admiral Hannah pulled up the geological scan. Deep beneath Kelthra's surface, ancient machinery had been turned on. Vraxian technology merged with the planet's molten core, creating a reaction that would tear the world apart. "How long until the planet explodes?" Hannah demanded. 48 hours, Yuki replied. "Maybe less if it speeds up." Hannah stood perfectly still for 3 seconds. Then she spoke with complete calm. "Recall all evacuation ships. Get our people into orbit." "Admiral," her officer said carefully, "the other council species are offering transport. They're saying we should abandon Kelthra and evacuate as many people as possible to other systems." Hannah's eyes went hard. "We didn't come here to watch Kelthra die. We came to save it." "But Admiral, if the planet is going to be destroyed anyway?" "No." Hannah's voice cut like a knife. "We find a way to shut down that weapon. Get me Dr. Park and Captain Lee. Meeting in 5 minutes." The meeting was quick. "Can we shut it down?" Hannah asked. Yuki showed the scan data. "There's a control facility 12 kilometers below the surface. We can reach it through maintenance tunnels. If we can reach the main processor and overload it, the chain reaction should stop." "If?" Captain Lee Tay asked. "I'm a biologist, not a weapons engineer," Yuki admitted. "But the theory is sound." "How many people for the mission?" Hannah asked. Tay studied the tunnel maps. 20. Maybe 30. It's going to be tight spaces, extreme heat, and we'll be fighting Vraxians the whole way. "I'll lead it," Hannah said. "Admiral, you're commanding the fleet?" "And I'm also the only person on this ship who's led teams through underground combat," Hannah interrupted. "I fought in the Tokyo Undercity conflict. This is my operation, Captain." Tay recognized that tone. He saluted. "Yes, Admiral. I'll get the best team. Include Dr. Park," Hannah added. We'll need her when we reach the core facility. And me, came a new voice. Elder Moran stood in the doorway. Commander Zeth beside her. With respect, Elder, this isn't your fight, Hannah began. This is entirely my fight, Moran replied. I know the old tunnels beneath my world better than any scanner. You'll need a guide. Hannah studied the elderly Keltheran. Saw the steel in her eyes. Very well. But you follow my orders. The team assembled in the drop bay. 30 humans, 2 Keltherans, and enough explosives to level a small city. As other species monitored the operation, something unexpected happened. A Thurian battle cruiser moved into position to provide cover fire. Then a Quellan science vessel offered advanced scanning equipment. The Galactic Council species, shamed by human action, began contributing what they could. Hannah's team dropped to Kelthera's surface and immediately went underground. The tunnels were ancient, carved before current civilization, leading down into absolute darkness. They descended for hours, fighting past Vraxian guards who seemed surprised to find enemies this deep. The humans moved with practiced efficiency, their weapons perfect for close-quarters combat. Moran guided them through junctions and passages that existed on no map. Commander Zeth's knowledge of Vraxian behavior helped them avoid several ambushes. The temperature rose as they descended. The walls glowed with heat from the weapon's activation. How much farther? They asked. We're close, Moran replied. The old text spoke of a chamber at the heart of the world. They emerged into a vast cavern. At its center, a biological mechanical hybrid pulsed with sickly light. Thousands of Vraxian organisms had been merged into ancient machinery, creating something terrifying. And defending it stood a massive Vraxian presence. The collective voice itself, the physical form of the hive mind, a creature the size of a building. You cannot win, it said in a voice that echoed in their skulls. We are inevitable. Tay leveled his weapon at the monster. Maybe. But we're also really stubborn. The battle was chaos. The collective voice commanded its warriors with perfect coordination, but the humans responded with perfect chaos. They used the cavern's features, heat vents, and the weapon itself as cover, turning every danger into an advantage. Dr. Park Yuki worked frantically at the alien controls while her teammates bought her time measured in seconds. I found it, she shouted. The main processor. If we overload the biological parts, the whole system should collapse. Do it. Hannah ordered, firing at advancing Vraxians. Yuki's fingers flew across the alien interface. The weapon began to scream, a sound that shook the planet's core. 30 seconds to overload. Everyone out. The team ran. Behind them, the collective voice shrieked in rage as its perfect creation tore itself apart. The cavern collapsed. Rocks fell everywhere. The team was trapped. This way. Commander Zeth shouted, pointing to a side passage. That's a dead end. Tay argued. Trust me, the Keltheran insisted. They had no choice. The main tunnel was already gone. The team rushed into the narrow passage, and Moran sealed the entrance with explosives just as the cavern behind them ceased to exist. In the sudden quiet, broken only by distant rumbling, they checked their situation. We're 43 kilometers underground, Yuki reported. There's no direct route to the surface. Admiral Hannah, do you copy? A voice crackled through their radios, barely reaching them. We copy, Hannah replied. Weapon is disabled. Planet should stabilize. Confirmed. Readings show the reaction is collapsing. Kelthera is saved. Pause. Admiral, we're reading your position. There's no way to extract you. Hannah looked at her team. Exhausted Marines. Dr. Park with trembling hands. The 2 Keltherans who'd risked everything. Understood, Hannah said calmly. Hold that thought, Admiral, came a new voice. Younger. More irreverent. Captain Cho Huan, one of the fleet's hotshot shuttle pilots, known for attempting impossible maneuvers. I'm looking at these tunnel systems and I've got a really bad idea. Captain Cho, Hannah began. If you're suggesting. I'm already in atmosphere, Admiral. Sending you coordinates. You need to be there in 12 minutes. Cho, those tunnels are collapsing. Then I suggest you run, ma'am? Hannah looked at her team. Saw tired smiles appearing. You heard him, she said. Move out. They ran through the dying planet. Above them, Captain Cho piloted his shuttle on a course that violated every safety rule in human space. He threaded through collapsing caverns, dodged falling debris, and flew upside down through passages meant for walking, not flying. 30 seconds. Cho announced. Hannah's team burst into a larger chamber. Through the dust and chaos they could see the shuttle's lights. Everyone on board. Hannah ordered. The last Marine had barely cleared the ramp when the chamber began its final collapse. Cho's engine screamed as he pulled maximum thrust, shooting upward through a tunnel that closed behind them like jaws snapping shut. They burst from Kelthra's surface just as the ground sealed itself, the planet system stabilizing now that the weapon was offline. "Welcome back, Admiral," Cho said cheerfully. "You might want to write that report before I get court-martialed for what I just did to this shuttle." Hannah laughed. "I think we can arrange something, Captain." 3 months later, Elder Moran stood on the observation deck of the Dauntless, looking down at Kelthra. The planet's wounds were severe. Vast areas stripped bare, oceans boiled away, cities reduced to ash. But it was alive. The core was stable. Life could return. "It will take generations to rebuild," she said softly. Admiral Hannah joined her. "You'll have help. The Council species are already offering aid. Materials. Food. Scientific help." "Guilt is a powerful motivator," Moran observed. "So is hope," Hannah replied. In Kelthra's central plaza, workers erected a monument. A simple stone with inscriptions in every galactic language. To those who came like thunder. Below that one sentence, they came not for profit, not for territory, not for glory. They came because it was right. Years later, children across 100 worlds learned about the siege of Kelthra. About the species that hesitated and the species that acted. About 37 ships that changed what it meant to be part of a galactic community. The Vraxian swarm never threatened that sector again. New protocols were established. Rapid response forces created. Species that had grown comfortable remembered that comfort meant nothing without courage. And across the galaxy, the thunder's echo continued to roll.